Hey everybody, welcome back to BobkeTV. Next up, a preview of Giro di Lombardia, the classic, the race of the falling leaves, the last monument of the season. There's still one more classic to come, Paris Tours. But as far as monuments are concerned, Lombardia is the last in the season of 5. The classics monument seasons anyway starts with Milano-San Remo, and then it's a Tour of Flanders, then Paris-Roubaix, then Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and finally the Giro di Lombardia. A few things notable about this bike race. Been around for about 100 years, and it's more like a mountain stage of a Grand Tour than a classic. If all the climbs in the Tour, in Liège-Bastogne-Liège were about twice as long, you would have the Giro di Lombardia, absolutely brutal one-day race, 240 Ks, about 150 miles, and 4,000 plus meters, so over 12,000 feet of climbing. In this, the most brutal of all classics. Also, coming at the end of the year does not make it any easier. I did this a number of times in my career and suffered like an animal every single one. Only managed to finish Lombardia one time, but I'm pretty stoked to have finished all 5 of the monuments during my career. Lombardia is up in the north of Italy. It starts this year in Como and finishes in Bergamo. The route changes pretty dramatically from year to year, but this year very mountainous, staying in the mountains north and east of Como and finishing up in Bergamo. The finish is pretty tricky. Tough climb into the old town and then a descent into the finish in the new town, or the upper city and the lower city. And in Bergamasco, it's almost impossible to say what they call their own town, but it'll be a great finish for the Giro di Lombardia. Some of the climbs, the Madonna del Ghisallo, very famous, has a chapel on top which has a pretty impressive bicycle museum. They ring the bells when the riders come by for the Giro Lombardia. The hardest climb is the Val Cava on the race route. That's about halfway through, and that is as hard as any just about mountain pass in the Grand Tours by itself. The Verbeno is next, San Antonio Abbandonata. And if you're going to abandon hope and give up the race, that's as good a place as any. After that is the Miragolo San Salvatore, the Selvino, and then a tough little kick on cobbles, very narrow streets, up into the old town of Bergamo before the finish down in the new town. Some of the pre-race favorites from Astana. Astana pretty desperate to get a big win for Fabio Aru, who still is stinging after a pretty disappointing Tour de France. He's joined by Miguel Angel Lopez, who just won the Giro Piemonte, Milano Torino, I think it was. Astana, they've been very aggressive. They always are, and look for them to be attacking from about halfway to the finish line. They're going to make it very, very tough Lombardia this year. From Edix, Dan Martin and Julian Alaphilippe will lead the charge, both of them capable of winning. Dan Martin, former winner, and Julian Alaphilippe has had spectacular success in the Ardennes Classics, which are very hilly also. Rui Costa from Lampre, an Italian team, so there'll be a lot of pressure on the former world champion Rui Costa to win. Wouter Poels from Team Sky in there with a chance, although maybe a little bit on the outside. We'll have to see how Wout Poels is doing this late into the season. From Cannondale, Rigoberto Urán is riding very well and might give Cannondale a big win that would go a long way in restoring the confidence of the rider in the program after a pretty tough season, honestly, results-wise, for Cannondale. No defending champion, Vincenzo Nibali, who put in one of the most hair-raising descents that's ever been captured, start to finish, in professional cycling, was Nibali from the Astana squad, and a thrilling finale in last year's Lombardia, won eventually by Vincenzo Nibali. He's leaving Astana at the end of the year for the Bahrain team, so it wouldn't surprise me if Astana left him off the roster so that Fabio Aru would have a much better chance of winning. That's the way the cookie crumbles in professional cycling. One of the most glorious races of the calendar. They're not calling for rain until the day after, so hopefully there'll be dry conditions. If it was raining, these are some of the most narrow, most treacherous roads. It would be absolute mayhem. So let's hope for dry roads. Let's hope that everybody gets through the race safely, and may the best man win the Giro di Lombardia. It's going to be great. I'm not sure where to find it. We're not covering it on any of the channels that I work for. So maybe after the race, we'll get a chance to review it. I'm going to give you the podium right now. It's going to be Rigoberto Urán in third, Miguel Angel Lopez in second, and I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to call Dan Martin for the win for the Edix squad. Dan Martin hasn't had a big win in a while, and I think he'd like to cap his season with victory in Lombardia. So there's your podium. Two Colombians in a classic. Oh man, on the podium. Well, that would be impressive. And even if the order is switched around a little bit, I think the Colombian is going to be right up there with a chance to even win, perhaps. Okay, everybody, that's it for the preview of Lombardia. I hope you enjoy it. Subscriptions, keep them coming. Comments, who do you think is going to win? Follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and give me the thumbs up if you like these videos. Thanks a lot, everybody. So all of that is fine. The only problem I have with it is that WADA makes no mention of whether or not the TUE program is subject to abuse if an athlete is given a TUE without a legitimate health issue.